Good news, crazy news, and bad news. As Errol Spence Jr. takes to Twitter and gives some very wild takes on boxing. I think they're accurate, but still wild, and we're going to go over those. And we get some bad news as the WBO continues its efforts to refuse Errol Spence the opportunity to fight for their 154 belt. Let's talk about those things, and it should be a real fun conversation in this video. All right. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we're going to talk about Errol Spence Jr. and what's going on with him in his next fight and some very, very severe claims that he made about boxing. Before I get into those two things, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. Shout out to everybody that reached out during my hiatus. I took about a month and a half off of YouTube just to kind of relax, get my head in the right place. So now that I got my head screwed on straight, let's get back into this boxing. Soon as I come back, Errol Spence Jr. is in a back and forth, is just going through a series of tweets. Many people have done videos on it, so I'm only going to focus on one that I saw come through the other day, where he said if he wanted to, he could go 2 years without fighting, get on a bunch of juice to build his muscles up, and then taper off before he comes back. Now, that to me sounds like somebody saying what is already going on in boxing and him knowing and doing his research on it. Now, I've talked to doctors about what they believe about who is on juice and who is not on juice in boxing, and talking about the people that have not tested positive. And this particular physician agrees with what Tyson Fury said, which is 99% of these people are on something. So for Errol to say that it's not shocking, but who fits that pattern? Well, one guy that fights once every 2 years, if you think about it, is Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford had been taking a lot of sweat and a lot of pressure for his relationship with Victor Conte, and who also works with Devin Haney. And people are like, this guy's working for the biggest cheater that there is in the history of sports. And that is Victor Conte. That's my opinion anyway. So when Errol says this, of course, people are going to look at the pattern of Terence Crawford. And it very well may be the case that he fits that pattern. If you look at it, he fought one time. He had fought Errol Spence after he took 2 fights real quick to get Errol Spence. And then he took a year off before he had his fight with Ad Venetian. He had been off of a year. He only fights once every 2 years. So he could literally be doing that. It's not like he's fighting every 6 months. He's fighting every 12 months usually. I wouldn't be surprised if his next fight doesn't wind up being a year out from that Madmarov fight. But whatever the case is, that's a steep indictment of boxing. Sorry, man, I've been away, so I've been watching basketball and football. Kind of slipped out. Yeah, it's like that's a huge indictment of the sport of boxing. Now, my personal thing is, look, if everybody else is doing it, and we're going to have this farce called VADA, at least that would look like, where you can pay a ton of money so that somebody can know the scheduling of your testing. That's what it looks like to me, at the least. If boxing's not going to do anything about that, if the Association of Boxing Commissions are not going to do anything about that, then hey, man, everybody should just go out there and do it then, to even the playing field, right? That's some physicians have been telling, my friend who's a physician has been telling me that for a while. Like, they just need to let everybody do it. That way it'll all even itself out. And I was like, no, because then you're going to have people with more money having access to better, stuff. But whatever. It's just a sad indictment. Almost as sad. But yeah, some people would say that it's not. Is Errol Spence is now not going to be allowed to fight for the WBO championship against Sebastian Fundora. Not that Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence Jr. canceled their fight. No, it is the WBO canceling their ratification of the fight and allowing him to fight for the belt. So because Sebastian Fundora owns both the WBC belt and the WBO belt, then I mean, that's not going to stop Errol from fighting for the WBC belt, which was the route that he was going to take anyway. But it just is a bad look if the WBO refuses to sanction the fight. Now, I personally believe that the WBO is doing that because they want to be in Turki Al-Sheikh's pocket or whoever else's pocket it is, because they have consistently treated fighters from the PBC like that. For years, there was only a few in all of boxing that were even in their rankings, let alone having the opportunity to fight for the belt. If you recall, there when at 154 pounds, the PBC had the WBA, the WBC, and the IBF titles. And for years, people just treated it like it was a de facto undisputed title because nobody believed that the WBO would let a PBC fighter fight for that belt for it to become undisputed. And that wound up not being the case because after Teixeira got the 154-pound belt, he fought Brian Castano, and then Brian Castano was, of course, a PBC fighter, and you got the undisputed title. But there's a rich tradition of the WBO apparently putting their thumb on the scale when it comes to whenever somebody is trying to jockey for a position, and the PBC fighter is one that deserves to be there. You see the same thing go on with the Boxing Writers Association of America members that vote on for Ring Magazine's top 10 pound for pound, where you have Gervonta Davis not listed there, which in my opinion is nothing but just ridiculousness. So the WBO's actions towards Errol Spence Jr. It's disappointing. At the same time, it is predictable. And don't tell me that they don't allow people to do that, because you had people that have lost fights badly and they came back and they had a rematch. So don't act like the people have not immediately lost fights and went right back to fighting for championships. But they throw in, well, it's been his 18-month absence, right? Month absence. Okay, that would be relevant if he was the WBO champion. Personally, I don't think that that's relevant when you talk about somebody coming in for a fight. Matter of fact, I mean, coming in and they're not the champion. They're just coming in to challenge. And don't tell me that that isn't something that happens. I don't believe Sugar Ray Leonard had fought in several years before he immediately moved in and fought Marvelous Marvin Hagler in the 1980s. And I'm sure I can come back with a bunch of examples of people who had been retired and immediately came back into the sport and fought for championships. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. The mixture between the prevalence of steroids in the business or performance enhancers in boxing is disappointing. I know that Errol feels a certain way about it. I doubt very much that he goes that way, despite the fact that he's already been accused so many times. And then, of course, there's just the WBO being the WBO. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please, in the comment section, let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Deuces, and please come on by the live streams that we do in the mornings so we can chop this boxing up and you can talk to me directly. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.